On his first visit to China in 14 years and in an exclusive interview with Leaders Talk, Irish Taoiseach Micheál Martin said he greatly values the opportunity to visit China.
The fact that we're the first European government and leader to be received by China in 2026 it symbolises the strength of the relationship between Ireland and China.
He spoke highly of Chinese President Xi Jinping's strategic vision.
Well, very engaging and very warm. I believe he's a strategic leader. He had very clear principles, and particularly in terms of internationally and globally.
He said Ireland is willing to play a constructive role in promoting the healthy development of EU-China relations.
I don't sense any real desire in Europe to decouple. That's not a practical consideration.
It's not possible.
We're all interdependent.
Exclusive interview with the Irish Taoiseach. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to Leaders Talk, where we meet leaders, thinkers, and trailblazers. I'm Zhou Yun. Here we are at Beijing Capital International Airport, where we'll be conducting an exclusive interview with Irish Prime Minister Micheál Martin, who is currently visiting the country. As the first European leader to visit China at the beginning of the new year, what are Prime Minister Martin's expectations and takeaways from this trip? What are his prospects for promoting a mutually beneficial strategic partnership between our two countries? As Ireland will assume rotating presidency of the EU in the second half of this year, what role does it expect to play in the healthy and stable development of China-EU relations? Let's find all these answers from our conversation with him. Mr. Taoiseach, thank you so much for joining us on Leaders Talk, and welcome to China. As we know that your trip is quite significant this time because it marks the first visit by an Irish Prime Minister to the country in 14 years. So at the start of our conversation, can you share us a little bit about the top objectives of your trip to China and what are the key messages that you hope to convey to the Chinese side?
Well, first of all, I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to visit China as Taoiseach, or Prime Minister of Ireland, and to say that the objectives are both political and economic and societal. We want to deepen the bilateral relationship between Ireland and China. I've been involved politically over the years in different ministries with China, economic, education, health and so forth. And as Minister for Foreign Affairs, I was here 2 years ago again. First came in 2005 on a major delegation represented by the then Prime Minister and 5 government ministers, and I was Enterprise Minister on that occasion. So from that date onwards, really, the level of trade and engagement between Ireland and China has grown exponentially. And so the objective is to cement that partnership and to strategically look ahead in terms of how we can work in synergy and in partnership on quite a range of issues. And so there's an economic dimension, there's a political dimension. I appreciate the fact that President Xi met with me on day one. And then in addition to that, so far I've met with business people companies who are located in Ireland, Chinese companies, and Irish companies who are trading in China and who are located in China. And I've met with educational institutions, higher education institutions.
Earlier today.
Yeah, which is a very strong relationship between Irish universities and Chinese universities, and a good two-way flow of students. And so it's been hectic and busy, but I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And those are the objectives.
You just mentioned your meeting with President Xi yesterday. Actually, during the meeting, the opening remarks, President Xi highlighted that you are the first European leader to be received by China in this new year, reflecting the high regard of both sides on China-Ireland relation. So how do you understand the significance of this recognition, and what are your major takeaways from your meeting with President Xi?
Well, we believe that the fact that we're the first European government and leader to be received by China into 2026 it symbolises the strength of the relationship between Ireland and China. We appreciate that opportunity. The meeting with President Xi was a high-level meeting that focused on the bilateral relationship, focused also on the European Union China relationship and the need to put that relationship in a broader framework and on a firm footing, and to try and resolve some of the trading issues between Europe. And as a member state of the European Union, we would be very much of that mind, that both sides should work hard to develop a working framework governing trade issues in particular. And we also discussed the cultural relationships and the literary connections between Ireland and China. And President Xi spoke about various authors, Oscar Wilde in particular, George Bernard Shaw, and he referenced The Gadfly, which was a famous novel of the 20th century, which was written by an author from my city in Ireland, Cork.
Cork City?
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it was an interesting discussion, which, and then President Xi spoke about Riverdance, who are coming to Beijing again in January.
Riverdance.
Yes, and likewise, Chinese is now studied in the Irish curriculum, second level curriculum, as a language. So there are growing cultural, language, literary links between our two countries.
So after your meeting with President Xi, what is your impression of him as a leader, and how do you understand the significance of his political philosophy?
Well, I feel he was, first of all, very engaging and very warm. I believe he's a strategic leader. He had very clear principles, and particularly in terms of internationally and globally, the need for the United Nations to regain authority and to reduce conflict and wars in the world. So that dovetails with Ireland's principles. And also, President Xi was very clear on China's commitment to multilateralism. He was fondly recalled his visit to Ireland in 2012. That was a major visit, and it kick-started, certainly marked a new phase in the Irish-China relations. And you might remember he went to Croke Park, which is the national stadium for Gaelic games in Ireland.
As we know that the One China principle is the cornerstone of China-Ireland relations. So how does your government plan to adhere to this very important principle?
Well, we've been very consistent in our support of the One China policy, and will remain consistent in that regard. You know, we're very clear and have been from the outset, really, in terms of the One China policy, and that will continue.
Ireland is located in Western Europe, bordered by the Atlantic Ocean to the west and the Irish Sea to the east, serving as a gateway to the European continent. With its land blanketed in greenery and forests, Ireland appears from space like a green gem set along the eastern coast of the Atlantic, earning it the nickname the Emerald Isle. It is the birthplace of the ancient Celtic people, a cradle of music passed down for millennia, and the homeland of literary giants such as W.B. Yeats, George Bernard Shaw, James Joyce, and Oscar Wilde. After gaining independence in 1922, this once predominantly agrarian nation successfully transformed itself into a high-tech economy through an open investment policy, competitive corporate tax rates, and a stable system of governance, ushering in the era of the Celtic Tiger. The world's first free trade zone, the Shannon Free Trade Zone, is located on Ireland's west coast. In the spirit of openness and free trade, China and Ireland have forged a partnership marked by connectivity and mutual learning.
The Shannon experience actually has provided valuable insights into China's economic reform experiences. And back in 2012, President Xi visited the Shannon Development Zone and emphasized the need for both sides to strengthen mutual learning, deepen mutually beneficial cooperation, and strive for long-term, healthy, and stable development. Prime Minister Martin, how do you envision deepening and advancing the mutually beneficial collaboration between our two sides?
Way back in the 1980s, later when Chinese delegations came to Ireland, they went to the Shannon Free Development Zone, which was the first zone in Ireland to bring in foreign direct investment. That inspired Chinese governments to do similar zones in China.
Yes.
So invariably they do keep referring to Shannon as an example of the kind of how sharing experiences can help countries develop and grow. He also referenced the Shannon Free Development Zone.
Yes.
So he recalled all of that, and so it was a warm meeting.
During the meeting, President Xi also pointed out that this year marks the beginning of China's 15th five-year plan, in which China is going to continue promote high-quality development and expand high-level opening up. So, Mr. Prime Minister, what new opportunities of collaboration do you foresee emerging from this new phase? And what are the specific sectors and industries do you believe host the greatest potential?
Well, I think first of all, we admire the Chinese approach, the strategic approach that China takes in planning, particularly its five-year plans, and generally executes those plans with precision. The areas that we would identify where there is a degree of complementarity. We would be very interested in the AI revolution that is taking place in the world and how best to apply that technology. We know China is a leader now in AI.
Yes.
So we would be interested in working with China because we're a highly digitalized economy in Ireland. We're strong in technology. We have very strong human capital in AI. And so we believe there are synergies there. Agriculture and food remains a core industry in Ireland. We have probably one of the most carbon efficient modern food production systems in the world, both in beef and dairy and pig meat and so on, and poultry. So therefore, will always be opportunities there given the size of the market in China and the quality of Irish produce because it's grass-based, it's pasture-based. The other area is that we feel education. I was very interested today. I witnessed the signature of quite a number of agreements between Chinese universities and Irish universities.
Right.
Many of the programs delivered here in China. I mean, there's up to 12,000 students now participating in these joint programs and joint
And the numbers
colleges.
on the rise as well, actually.
Numbers on the rise. We think it can rise even further.
So as a former teacher and also the former Minister of Education, maybe this particular sector actually holds really dear to your heart, right?
It absolutely does. I have a passion for education. It was my very first ministry when I went into government in 1997. And so therefore, I've always retained an interest in education as one of the great enablers in life. It benefits individuals, it benefits society. If one wants to understand the development of modern Ireland, it began really in the 1960s with a combination of investment in education and a continued, consistent investment in education.
And you have also expressed strong import of Ireland to expand exports of high-quality products to China. And in recent years, we're happy to see increasing number of Irish products like whiskey, seafood, dairy products, etc., entering the Chinese market through platforms like the International Import Expo, the International Consumer Products Expo, etc. So how does Ireland plan to increase the attractiveness and also the competitiveness of Irish products into the
I think fundamentally the quality of products is very important, the source of products. We are fortunate that we have a grass-based agricultural system, which works well for tillage and for beef and for dairy products in particular, very rich dairy products, very high quality nutrients in our milk. Infant formula, for example, has been a very strong product that has emanated from Ireland into China in particular, and globally. It's extraordinary output from Ireland in respect of infant formula. And also, you mentioned whiskey. Ireland has very high quality whiskies, but many others. We've had an explosion of distilleries. And again, that's connected to the land. It's connected to good products emanating from our tillage farmers. But quality is important. On technology, we have developed quite a number of homegrown companies, particularly very strong in software, and in many other areas of technology as well, in chip manufacturing. In addition to that, then we have strengthened medical devices industry, in life sciences more generally, pharmaceutical, biologics. We would be very, very strong producers.
Well, I would like to share with you some of the photos. This is when you visited the Forbidden City yesterday.
Yeah.
So, right. You shared on social media yesterday after this visit, saying that it offers a unique window into centuries of Chinese history and culture. So I'm really curious to know that as a history enthusiast and a former history teacher, what are some of the special details or moments that really left you the strongest impression from this experience?
Well, I think generally, being in the Great Hall and meeting with President Xi, and also going to the Forbidden City, because that speaks to a civilization that goes back centuries.
Yes.
Ireland is similar, and the thought struck me as we left Forbidden City, the hope that we could collaborate with an institution in Ireland in utilising the exhibition facility in the Forbidden City for an Irish exhibition here in Beijing. And our civilizations go back centuries. I said yesterday when I left in the note that will inspire further study. That visit alone will make me more curious to learn more about Chinese history and the different periods in the past.
As you also noticed, this increasing awareness and appreciation of both for people to each other's culture. Actually, the increasing number of Chinese audiences are very familiar with different aspects of Irish culture. For instance, the great playwright George Bernard Shaw, and also Riverdance Extravaganza, and myself as an English literature student back in college, we have studied many works and poems by James Joyce, as well as William Butler Yeats. I don't know whether you're aware that many of our Chinese viewers like the poem When You Are Old.
Yes.
So I don't know why, but many people just memorize those lines because it's really beautifully written.
Yeah, and I think that's something I would like to expand and develop even more. Yeats is our national poet, who obviously at the time of our independence, he captured the spirit of that time more than anybody else. Both pre our foundational revolution in 1916, a rebellion, through to the War of Independence, but he kind of covered all that period in a way that few poets anywhere could rival. And so he has been declared our national poet from that perspective. Our music is attractive here as well, and you mentioned Riverdance. We had the Chieftains years ago who coalesced also with our worked with and collaborated with Chinese musicians. I think in music and in dance and in literature, there will always be commonality. There will always be opportunities for sharing of ideas and experiences and so forth. And that's something that I would like to encourage.
From high-level meetings and economic consultations to cultural exchanges and industrial cooperation, Taoiseach Martin's visit to China has been wide-ranging and substantive, helping to build a solid bridge for advancing bilateral relations and deepening practical cooperation. This July, Ireland will assume the rotating presidency of the Council of the European Union. Against a backdrop of intensifying geopolitical competition, the evolving complexities of transatlantic relations, and a growing tendency toward short-term thinking in parts of Europe, the visit has drawn particular attention and carries distinct expectations.
And you have also spoken about the need to rebalance the relationship within the EU-China policy framework. And as we know, that Ireland is going to resume its rotating presidency of the EU Council starting from July the 1st of 2026. So how do you plan to leverage the role of this presidency to shape and guide the China-EU relations forward?
I think fundamentally one of the key themes for Ireland's presidency will be competitiveness of the European Union. And what measures can we take to enhance the competitiveness of the European Union? And one area which is ongoing, and the Commission is leading on this, is the simplification of regulation. And that we need to ensure that investment can happen within Europe, but also that we can create a sustainable framework between Europe and China in terms of trading issues. Europe has issues, China has issues. We're both concerned with economic security, industrial resilience, self-reliance. These are natural sort of concerns. We export 90% of what we produce, so we believe in open trade.
Right.
We believe in fair trade, level playing field. So our orientation is against tariffs, is against protectionism, and we believe in a more outward-looking trading environment. And I hope we can recover that in the years ahead.
As you said, that actually Ireland and China are both very strong defenders of multilateralism and free trade. So how concerned are you about this rising trend of anti-globalization as well as free trade?
I'm concerned about it, yeah. I would have a significant concern about a growth in protectionist sentiment. So you need to have balanced and open and, in our view, as free trade environment as possible in the world. Because ultimately, when you look at history, periods and eras of free trade enabled prosperity in the world to grow.
Definitely.
Protectionism may seem okay in the short term, but ultimately it weakens an economy. It reduces your competitive edge, and I think ultimately we're all the poorer and would all be the poorer if that was to continue.
Recently, you pushed back against claims that China is a hostile state towards Ireland and emphasized the importance of making a conscious effort to engage with China. Mr. Prime Minister, what are some of the key considerations that help you to form this understanding and approach towards China?
As I say, I visited here 20 years ago, and it was much different then than now in terms of the advancement and the progress. I mean, the modernity, the extraordinarily rapid progress in China in terms of urbanization, In terms of the lifting of hundreds of millions of people out of poverty through
Right.
economic development and progress,
That's right.
that all has to be acknowledged. But also then, my own view and personal philosophy is that dialogue and engagement is the most simple of human characteristics or acts that a human can take. If you close off and if you disengage, problems get worse. You imagine things that are not there. You become more suspicious of the person that you're dealing with. So my point basically, and as a former Minister for Foreign Affairs, diplomacy matters. Keeping dialogue going matters. Keeping the challenge of communication is essential. Because if you talk and if you keep engaging, issues can get resolved, misunderstandings can be dealt with, and also we can understand the perspectives of people and of societies and of countries better. So that's a simple philosophy. I prefer engagement than disengagement.
Then what is your take on the rhetoric, especially that is kind of popular now among the European countries, the so-called rhetoric of decoupling and the risking from China?
Well, I think it's more de-risking than decoupling. I don't sense any real desire in Europe to decouple. That's not a practical consideration.
It's not possible.
We're all interdependent. If I have a product to sell, I want someone to buy it, as crudely put as that. And that's why we believe so much in multilateralism. Multilateralism is the key to reduction of conflict and war. We're all agreed at the moment that the world is not in a happy place. It's a shocking situation that we have so many wars in Sudan, in Ukraine, in Gaza.
Palestine.
And too many people, innocent people, are dying. So the world needs to take stock and try and reduce the conflict. So President Xi was equally clear on this, that we do need at the UN level to try, can we recover the authority of the UN and stop these wars?
Well, Mr. Prime Minister, you have once mentioned an important factor that sparked your serious interest in national politics was an English teacher called Tony Power back in secondary school, because he encouraged students to watch TV current affair program and talk about it second day. So this early engagement somehow more or less contributed to your then over 3 decades of career in politics. So now reflecting on this journey, what do you believe are the biggest lessons that you have learned in terms of leadership, in terms of governance?
Well, you just said it there, the importance of the teacher in a person's life. And you mentioned Tony Power,
Yes.
who was my English teacher, and he was key and instrumental in interesting me, in getting me interested in current affairs or politics. And I would have to come into the classroom and talk about the program, the current affairs program of the previous evening.
Right.
So, and I had another teacher, Tom Land, while I'm at it, who taught me how to do TV programs and radio programs. Well, radio programs in particular, your job.
Yes.
Which gave me a confidence in terms of, I suppose, articulation or doing research and so on like that. So those were 2 innovative teachers that made a difference to my life. And that's why I value education so much. And I always affirm the role of the teacher in the life of a child in influencing. And the big lesson I've learned, well, we learn many lessons going through life and through political life.
Right.
But I think basic characteristics are important. You have to have objectives. You want to do things, get things done that are of value to people. So it's not about the sake of being in office, or it's not about the trappings of power. It's about doing things for the people that you represent. That's the essence of it. You know, keep your feet to the ground and don't get notions.
But as the Prime Minister of Ireland, what is the biggest change that you want to bring to your country, to your people?
Well, I think in the current era, housing is the biggest issue facing the Irish people. We need to build far more housing for the young people of Ireland at prices that they can afford and prices that they can afford to rent as well. And that's the biggest issue. We're very focused on that. Investment in infrastructure to catch up with the modern world and the increasing population that we've experienced over the last 20 years. And then in issues to do with disability. I do want to transform the life of people living with disabilities in Ireland, and that we can, in education and in health, transport, and in all the areas, work as well, that we can make a significant improvement during the lifetime of this government for people with a disability.
Well, Prime Minister Martin, the first time you visited China was in 2005, and you came back since then, as you mentioned, 3 to 4 times in total. So what is the biggest changes that you believe you have witnessed in the country, and how do you understand country's path towards modernization?
Well, what's incredible really is the pace and the rapidity of modernization in China, the growth of your manufacturing capacities, your public transport system, and the modernization of your cities and the urbanization of China, and the continued increase taking people out of poverty, and strong economic and social development has been a very powerful change, and it's been very rapid in such a short space of time. And every time one comes back to China, one sees new phases of that expansion and that increased capacity.
And last November, China announced the extension of its unilateral visa exemption arrangement for more than 40 countries, including Ireland. And I think you're also aware that both of our countries, the people there are interested in the natural beauty, the cultural heritage of each other. So any insights on that in the future?
That's very valuable, and we're very appreciative of the extension of that. In fact, I met with airlines this week as well also, who have direct flight to Dublin about 4 times a week. We're now looking to see, can we help them expand that and increase the connectivity, because that would create opportunities for students, create opportunities for people to visit, and tourists and so on, but also for business people, and make it far easier for the people-to-people connections.
As we have just embarked a brand new year, and also the China Spring Festival is coming next month, would you like to express some of your best wishes to our Chinese viewers through our show? Well,
I want to wish you the very best over the coming while, and particularly in terms of the festivals. And I believe river dance are on their way as well to China. So hopefully you'll get an opportunity to enjoy their dance and their music. But to wish you all good health and happiness in the year ahead.
Do you have an idea which year is it according to the zodiac sign?
The year of the horse?
Yes, the year of the horse. Prime Minister Martin, thank you so much for sharing with us your insights. Greatly appreciated. And have a safe trip to Shanghai.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.